Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jerry Cooney.
I'm Deborah Nelson.
And you know what, Deborah? I'm still wound up from last week's show. My goodness, it has been just a whirlwind of events. And you know, we didn't get into a lot of detail. We were at the team meeting, and
this was their board meeting.
Their board meeting, which is open to the public now because of yours truly. And
thank you.
Well, just pull that knife out of my back.
You could have arranged for us to partake in the lunchtime festivities.
You know, I think I'm gonna.
Because they normally have, it's a lunch meeting, and lunch is served to everyone but the observers. You know, one thing
that was real interesting is, you know, as we reported to you, ladies and gentlemen, the first meeting that was ever open to the public only lasted 23 minutes, and some of the board members were eating their sandwich as they left. However, this last meeting, they actually had to work a little bit. And there's actually 2 or 3 items that I think we ought to talk about. One, some budget issues. One was some objections about public input at this meeting.
Yes.
And so, Deborah, go ahead and throw out a couple of the budget things that we had there.
Well, they went over the budget. They're going to have to reduce their budget a little bit. And they talked about possibly the military affairs specialist may have to somehow be reduced as well. What struck me was, again, as we normally see at these meetings at Team Santa Rosa, every number except the number of jobs that have actually been created was thrown out there. And one of the things that we heard that they want to do is they want to once again travel abroad to Europe.
Right.
They're not going to be able to afford to go to Paris this year, which was presented with some lamentation, it sounded like, with some disappointment that they're not going to be able to go to Paris, but they will be able to go, they think, to London.
To London.
This year. And what we didn't hear was the number of jobs that have been created from previous trips to Paris and London and South America, Central America, and so on and so forth. We haven't heard any job numbers, but we have heard that they'll be traveling abroad again this year.
First, let me comment on the job numbers. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we've talked about this before, but they've not given any job numbers since 2004 when I made a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners. And Team Santa Rosa went county-wide telling everybody they had created 389 jobs when in fact they had only created about 220 jobs. I put the actual numbers in front of them, and for that I got assaulted like you just don't know, ladies and gentlemen. But
verbally assaulted.
Verbally assaulted. But since then, no job numbers.
None.
Since 2004.
Nothing.
This is 2009. So ladies and gentlemen, roughly $800,000 going through Team Santa Rosa every year, and you the people do not know what they have or have not done over there. Now, Deborah, I want to talk about that trip to Paris. And ladies and gentlemen, if you look right here on the screen, you will see the telephone number to the Board of County Commissioners. And when you get finished watching this TV program, I want you to pick up that phone. I want you to call down there. Be nice to the secretary. She's only doing her job. But I want you to leave a nice message to Commissioner Gordon Gooden. And please, from me, tell him how sorry you are that he's not going to be able to go to Paris, sit in first class, eat the peanuts, drink the champagne, and live high on your tax dollars. Be sure to leave him a message and just let him know what you think about that. Sorry, we're going to have to cut the budget. We can't go to Paris. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me.
Still going to London.
Still going to London. Well, I'll have to work on that the next time. Boy, I tell you what. Also in this meeting, and we do need to set the stage a little bit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have chosen as a personal choice, and I think I believe I'm correct in saying this. No member of the public has asked to speak at any of their meetings until this last meeting. And so, you know, look, I got their meetings open. That was what was important to me. Give us an opportunity to observe, what they do and how they handle their business. And I've been very well satisfied with all that. But with all the controversy, the stories in the Pensacola News Journal and Pete Gandy and all the surrounding things, and then of course the issue of the lawyer that they hired, I felt it was important to speak. So they did.
Since you paid for the room and the chair.
Yes, since I paid for everything in there.
Benefits and
now, ladies and gentlemen, in previous meetings, they always had public comment at the end of the meeting. Our friend and member of team who asked Ed Gray said, I think it's important to have public input at the beginning of the meeting. So be it. So they moved it to the front. So, of course, I went forward, and I wanted to discuss kind of how they, I wanted to impress upon the board members that they're responsible for anything that any of them do, and that they really need to know and understand the law. And I'm not going to call his name, but one of the board members, in a very frustrated voice, well, and this is while I'm trying to speak now, well, Mr. Chairman, talking to Ed Gray, we're going to need to know how long this public comment stuff is going to take, because I'm a busy person and I have things to do. Well, I let him have his say, and I'm going to repeat to you, our viewers, and I want that individual to hear it again. Public participation is required in the Sunshine Law, and if you don't like it, find another organization to volunteer your time on, pal.
If I could interject, every member of that board, except for the one county commissioner, are coming from a special interest group, coming from a private company.
Right.
Gulf Power's on there. There's some engineering companies that have had high dollar contracts with the county on there. There's somebody from a radio station. These are all special interests who are represented at this group that has all this money at their disposal, and there's not one just normal old citizen on that board.
Right. Well, and hopefully we'll see that change soon. But let me reiterate again. It's America. That's my tax dollars you kicking around. That's my table you're sitting at. That's the comfortable chair that you're sitting in actually belongs to me, while you leave me the uncomfortable chair along the side of the building. I don't want to hear another peep about public comment at a board meeting for Team Santa Rosa. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to understand the importance of public participation. And I'll tell you right now, you guys don't understand it. We, the citizens, don't appreciate it. And let me assure you, I am not the only one that is mad about this. I am not the only one that's mad about it. You have started something that you may not be able to stop here. I don't appreciate it. Public speech is guaranteed in this country. It is freedom of speech. And as long as you get all of your funding from the taxpayers of this county, sit there, eat your free salad, and let a citizen have something to say in your meeting. Okay, I feel better.
I was actually surprised, after all this water under the bridge, that you still had board members sitting there at that board meeting that were so overtly disdainful of the members of the public who were sitting kind of behind the table along both walls, waiting for their turn to speak, and it was just overt disdain that several of the board members had.
You know, another board member raises concerns that the 5 people that the commissioners are going to pick and place on this board may in some way hinder their operation.